Hello ladies and gentlemen. Today in War Thunder we're going to be looking at the new update which came out, the Steel Generals update, update 1.45. Basically touted for the last few weeks to be the update where America gets graced with its tanks. And it has been graced with its tanks. Maybe not what a lot of people were thinking, but they are definitely here. Basically how it's working is that Tier 1 is open to everybody. And if you want to progress further into that, because they're classing everything else as a beta, testing everything out, basically that has turned into a bit of money whoring in a way. If you get one of the premium packages of the American tanks, or buy a premium tank I believe, you move into Tier 2, or at least you can research Tier 2 American tanks, which I am kind of fine with. If they are in a position where they are not exactly sure how the American tanks are, or at least they want to test them, I'm okay with this kind of thing, because if you actually look at the pack, it's about $4.50, which isn't a lot. And the thing is, with Christmas coming up, you can just be like, you know what, in War Thunder I want to treat myself today. I'm going to get a premium tank, and it means you also get 600 Golden Eagles with it as well, and researching your American tanks is going to be easier in the long scheme of things. So obviously, update 1.45 has hit us, so I'm going to basically be going through all the changes and everything, and telling you my opinion on them. There are some things that I'm kind of worried about, but overall, I'm happy with this update. The thing is, I always look back to War Thunder when I started playing, or even a year ago now. It's been quite a long time playing it, and every update has been a massive improvement, apart from one which the majority of the stuff has been fixed. Now, that means that War Thunder is heading in a direction which is very, very positive, and you can even see now that with the amount of players on and everything like that, this game is growing exponentially in a way. A lot of old players are coming back, which is nice to see, and a lot of new players are gracing our shores. So it is good to see for a game which I would tout as one of the best free-to-play games out there. But anyway, let's get into the patch notes. So to start off, we have ground vehicles, obviously. The USA first stage of test, that basically means that Tier 1s are available for everyone, including the M2A4, M3, M3A1, M3A1 USMC, M2A4 First Armored Division, the M2, the M3, the Mark 1 Grant, the M13 MGC. These are all available for people to research and buy, and then if you want to buy a pack or whatever, you can progress through the rest of the tree. The American tanks so far I'm very happy with. They have actually changed the gameplay of tanks, something that I've been long wanting. The American tanks overall, at least the early ones, are quite lightly armoured. They have okay guns, nothing special, but they reload fast, and most of them are fast tanks. The M3 Lee is obviously an exception to this, with a max speed of 39 kilometers an hour. Most of the time on a flat ground you'll cruise around at 38 kilometers an hour, which is still decently fast for quite a heavy tank, 27.7 tons, and it also has 2 cannons on it, including that 75mm, which I would class as a howitzer, when we look at its muzzle velocity and its trajectory and everything like that. But the thing is, overall, these tanks, most of them are very nippy. They are very fast. They are obviously designed for flanking and stuff like that. So battles right now, when we have American versus American, or American versus German or Russian, they are very fast-paced. They are very, very fast-paced compared to before, because you have stuff like M2A4s and the Stuarts running around at 50 kilometers an hour. They don't have very good brakes. So stopping can be an issue, and turning, I think there's something wrong with the turning, because it seems like it takes a second to register you're trying to turn. I don't know if this is a choice by the devs, or if it's a bug or something. It just seems like it's a bit unresponsive from the time that you press the button compared to when you actually move. But yeah, the brakes are interesting. They are obviously tanks designed to get around the enemy. I think that's going to be something that the American tanks do pretty well. As we can see, there are a ton of medium tanks and light tanks to do that. Basically equating in tier 4 and tier 5 stuff like the Bulldog, which is going to be very fun at taking on Tigers. I'm going to love taking on Tigers in that, just whipping around, trying to get behind them, watching the Tiger turret turn and try and get me, but no, it never can. And then it culminating in stuff like the Patton, which is still very fast. I mean, you're talking here about basically a 46-ton machine, and it goes 47 kilometers an hour, with a good gun, with good armor. And then, even if you don't like that style of gameplay, well, that's alright. You have these other massive tanks. You're looking at the T-32 and the M103. The M103 with a ridiculous gun on it. Let's just put it like that. I mean, it's a 120mm M58 cannon. It's basically as good as anything the Russians have. So that has an amazing gun, and then the T-32 has amazing armor, and still a very good gun. So yeah. I'm sorry, Germans. Unfortunately, it has come true. The problems that you have at tier 5 are going to stick, unfortunately. But that's kind of just how it is. The Germans have decent armor pen in tier 5, but the armor cannot stand up against anything the Russians or Americans are throwing at them. So yeah, I think all the players who are playing Germany, or at least trying to, are probably going to migrate over to Russia and America now when it comes to tier 5 at least. Which, you know, that's fine. I mean, it's an unfortunate thing, but if they don't look at the idea of adding in prototypes for Germany or anything like that, then, well, it's going to be an issue. But overall balance in tier 1, 2, and 3, I've unlocked up to right now at least some tier 3 American tanks. I believe is actually pretty good. I think the American tanks pack a massive punch with their guns. They obviously decided that armor pen was going to be a big thing. It seems weird. The American tanks either have hardly any armor and a decent gun, or a lot of armor and a pretty shoddy gun. Examples of this would be any Sherman with the 76. They don't have a lot of armor when coming to it, especially when looking at what they're going to come up against. An example of this would be the M4A3, which I believe has the same BR as a Tiger. I'll just check that. Yes, it has the same BR as a Tiger. A great gun, but its armor plating is useless against anything which it is going to come up against. But then you compare it to something like the M4A3E2 Jumbo, which has a pretty shoddy gun at 5.0, still good enough to pen a lot of tanks it's going to be coming up against, but it has a ton of armor, so it's going to be very hard to pen. Another example would be the M6A1, which probably at 5.0 is actually better than the Jumbo if we actually look at it, because its gun does a lot more. It is obviously slower, I believe. Let's see. Oh no, it's actually the same speed. How does that work? Oh, yeah, fair enough. So the M6A1 is 56 tons, but it does have engine power of 960 horsepower at 2,300 RPM, whereas the M4A32 is 38 tons basically with 500 horsepower at 2,600. Fair enough. Okay, that makes sense. But overall, looking at the American tanks, I'm very happy with them. I haven't found anything which I would class as overpowered. I would class certain tanks pretty useless. I mean, when we're looking at the M22 Locust, you're talking about a tank which is very small. Very, very small. Hard to hit, but if it gets hit, it's dead. It's as simple as that. And its gun, well, at 2.7, it's going to hurt some things, but not a lot. I do like the light tanks, though. Something I've talked about before in a lot of my videos and stuff is I feel like a lot of the maps are designed for light and medium tanks. Sorry, medium and heavy tanks, whereas light tanks kind of are pretty useless. I mean, If you take them out, then they're going to be used for scouting, and that's really about it. But now that the American tanks are fast, nimble, they should be really good and realistic in simulator, or at least that's what I kind of feel. As long as you don't stop, keep moving, don't stop, then you should be fine. But yeah, we'll see how the game dynamics change when it comes to these light tanks, because we are starting to get a lot of maps which are more open. Even Eastern Europe is a decently open map. The castle one, not so much, but we'll get onto them in a separate video. I want to do a map analysis for both of them, as usual. But we should move on from the first point, which I've spent 10 minutes on. But it is the major one. So the USSR get the BT-5, the SMK, and the M4A2. Which is completely fine. There's nothing weird about that. It's nice to have more premium tanks, I suppose. The SMK is a dual turret heavy tank, which looks a lot like a KV-1, but just longer. It has a top speed of 35, mass of 55. It's basically another tank which is okay. At 3.7, it has decent armor and decent guns. You have a 45 and a 76. The 45 obviously loads faster than the 76 at stock, but we'll see how that goes. It's going to be an interesting tank because this is basically like a land whale. It's not a tank which you're going to miss a lot, but we'll see how its armor does. It's basically got the same armor, actually just a bit less armor than a KV-1 L11. But I suppose it's at the same BR. So we'll see how it goes. The M4A2 obviously is a 76 Sherman, which should be quite good for the Russians. And the BT-5 is a reserve little 1933 tank, which has a 45. I believe it's probably been put into the game to try and counteract stuff like the M2A4, which are coming out, because it's basically as nippy. They don't have a lot of armor. It's going to be a lot of dodging and ducking and diving, and it's going to be absolutely great. Good additions to the Russian tech tree there. So the Germans get the Panzer III Aus J, the Panzer IV Aus E, the VK4501, and the Panzer 6P. So basically, we're looking at more premiums. Yes, more premiums. So the let's see. The Panzer 6P is the BR of 6.0 premium. It basically is a tiger in a way, in basically every way. We also have the J and the J1 now, which is quite interesting in the German tree, but at least it's not a premium. And I don't know why they've done that. The Panzer J and the Panzer J1. Maybe we will find out. They seem like exactly the same tanks. Let's just have a look. Is this a glitch in the system? No. They are slightly different. That seems really, really odd. They have massively different BRs, though. Why is this? Oh, it's down to the gun. So it's basically short barrel versus long barreled, and that means a 1.3 BR difference. Okay. Well, whatever you say. I suppose that just seems a bit weird to me. But also, the Panzer IV Aus E and the VK4501. I do need to find that, just to see how it is. And it's not there. How weird. It probably is, I'm just missing it. But anyway, more tanks is always good tanks as long as they're balanced. And there doesn't seem to be any glitches with these tanks yet. We will see in the future. So on to the next point, which is ammunition. So one of the biggest things which was added in this update is that a lot of machines are now able to fire their machine guns, and since this update is kind of in beta, what they're going to do in subsequent server updates is add all of the machine guns basically to all of the tanks which have them. So most of the American tanks have them, or at least the early ones, and then the KV-1B has them, which includes all of the KVs, including the new land whale. Its machine gun on the back of its turret works, which is quite nice, and some of the T-34s, the T-35, the ZIS S-53, IS-4M, of course, and everything like that. So the main thing I found with machine guns is two ways of using them. Basically, one is to spam the enemy in front of you with them, basically knocking their FPS down to about 2, so you're going to fire faster than them. Which is, it's very, very sad that you can do that, but what can you say? It's a lot of explosions going off at the same time, and if you basically have a better PC than them, then basically you win. It is very odd. But also, the major thing I like about these machine guns is that they have their own ammo belts, which is something that I think is definitely overlooked when it comes to small changes like this. And also, it means that teams don't have to be as reliant on stuff like AA trucks, because now you have machine guns, you can shoot planes down for yourself. And the ammo belts do pack a punch. There's a lot of incendiary in there, a lot of AP in there. They're going to hurt planes. And that's kind of nice. It means that if you don't have an AA vehicle on your team, you're not going to get absolutely wrecked by bombers coming in or something like that. It means that you have a fighting chance. And also they're balanced to the point where an AA truck or an AA vehicle is better at taking out aircraft. But even with the machine guns, at least you have something going on. And seeing about 5 or 6 tanks fire up in the air, it does look absolutely glorious. It does look very, very nice. So other stuff that has been added, an APCR shell has been added to the IS-1. Okay, basically now you can pen turrets on Tigers, which is kind of annoying. Once again, now the IS-1 using the APCR shells do not take a lot of skill to use. But hey, that's my opinion, blah blah blah. An AP shell has been added to the T-44. Alright then, T-44. Have fun doing what you do, I suppose. It's a decent tank. With an AP shell, it should now be able to take on what it takes on much easier. And the artillery strike modification has been added to the Kugelblitz, so that is obviously something that was a glitch in the system that has been fixed, so that's good to see. It's nice to see people reporting problems and Gaijin are going, hey, let's sort them out. So, damage models, something that has definitely been on a lot of people's minds, especially when it comes to tanks. Now, basically, overall, I want to call it Gaijin wording or PR wording, basically, where you go, oh, they have been improved or they have been changed, but they don't say how. Like, I'll read you the first 3 sentences from all these 3 bullet points. So the first one is, damage model for ammunition has been improved. The second one, many errors and inaccuracies with module positions on different ground vehicles have been fixed. Okay. Many errors in the armoring scheme of ground vehicles has been fixed. And then they give you a list of stuff which basically shows you these are the major ones. But the thing is, nobody has time to go through all of these and have a check. What I would love from a developer at some point, I can't remember, there was a developer back in the day who, that's it, with StarCraft 2, Blizzard they outline everything they do really, really well when it comes to changes and stuff like that. They go, right, this is what we're going to do, let's have a discussion, is that right, is that wrong, okay, right, it's going to go through. And they show to the community and the players that this is getting changed by this much and this is getting changed by that much. Whereas with this game, it's been improved, it's been fixed, it's been fit to a data sheet. But the thing is, they don't tell you what has been fixed, they don't tell you what has been improved, they don't tell you what data sheet they're using. And even though they have got better at this, Gaijin, we do need to understand what you have changed. I'm not talking about a whole detailed thing about every tank that you've changed and everything like that. I basically just want something where I can go, right, so on the KV-1B, it says that it's changed an error in an armoring scheme. Maybe in brackets you put glitch in frontal plate has been fixed. So that basically means that I knew there was a glitch in the frontal plate, let's say where the driver's hatch is or something, and then I can go, right, so that was there before, and I can look now and go, hey, it's fixed. And it's as simple as that. All you need is a sentence for each of these things. And I love for a fact how the BT5 its armoring scheme has already been fixed, even though it hadn't come out yet. Okay, unless I suppose it was in the beta, well, on the dev build and stuff like that. But yeah, I don't like talking about these because I don't have time to go through all of the different tanks and work out what is different and what is not. So all I can say is, yay, the damage models have been fixed. Let's see if there are any more glitches or anything like that. But if they have improved a lot of the glitches and stuff, I'm happy. Because obviously, to become a fully fledged game and everything, there shouldn't be a lot of glitches and stuff. So, getting on to the technical characteristics of vehicles. So, for the Tiger II, with the 105mm, and the Panther II, the engine was replaced with the HL234 engine project with 900 horsepower. So, the Tiger II and the Panther II, the very slow snails across the battlefield, have now got a bit more engine power. Does this mean that they are going to be a lot better? No, not really, but it does give them a little added punch. It basically means getting to the battle, moving around, doing stuff like this, is going to be easier for them. The Tiger II and the Panther II, for me, were very stationary vehicles. They were heavy, they were decently armoured, but there wasn't a lot you can do if you get flanked, or even when you come up against an IS-4M, which can shoot straight through you anyway. Yes, I said it. But, you know, it's nice to have a bit more engine power, and as long as it's realistic, as long as there were some built with this, or some plans with this, I am fine with it. The Panther II transmission was replaced with one similar to those that were installed on this Tiger II. Fair enough. Once again, as long as it's realistic, I'm fine with it. And the big one, the T-3485, changes were made to the following characteristics: combat weight, engine RPM, elevation angles. Maximum elevation angle was changed from 28 to 22 degrees. Maximum turret traverse speed from 15 to 25 degrees. And what a surprise, in this, they actually state something. They go, it's based on this. It's based on this book. It's based on this military publishing. And why can't you do this for everything? Maybe, I don't know, maybe you have more resources when it comes to Russian tanks and stuff. I mean, that kind of makes sense when we look from where the dev team is and everything. But this, as a standard Gaijin, this is what I'm talking about. With the T-3485, you've done this perfectly. You have outlined everything that you've changed, and you have given a source on why you've changed it. You need to do this for basically everything. We compare the T-3485, I will leave this in the description if everybody wants to see it. I will leave this T-3485 thing, and we'll compare it to the next one, which is the Flak Panzer IV Ostwind. So the T-3485 has, it has 7 lines of text, basically talking about the source, talking about what was changed, all of this jazz. And this is the Flak Panzer. So the Flak Panzer IV Ostwind combat load increased from 320 to 1,000 shells. Okay, so it's been increased, but I tell you what I want. Why can't you say this is based on this? Because when you just put a sentence like that and don't back it up with anything, yes, I can do my own research. I can go and look on Google right now and see if that is correct. But the thing is, when it comes to stuff like that, we've seen it on the forums many times in War Thunder. You can always find contradicting information, because it depends on what side of the war you were fighting on, to be quite honest. So, the thing is, it would be nice to see the source that you use, and then we can see if that source is fine and everything like that, instead of just, you know, instead of taking your word as gospel. Because right now, there are lots of changes that I see which are done for balancing purposes, which I'm completely fine with if you have to. But if you're seeing this as a realistic game, and you want to keep it as realistic as possible, we need to see where this realism is coming from. It is as simple as that. But anyway, we'll get on to the game mechanics, because there are some really interesting things that have come through. So the tow cables have been added, and if you don't know what these are, then you need to look them up. The tow cables are absolutely brilliant. They are an addition which just kind of make me happy. It basically means if you're stuck in, let's say, a sideways position or upside down, a teammate can help you. It also means that you can drag heavy tanks faster. Something that we've been doing in the squad is getting 2 M2A4s, attaching a Lee to them and pushing the Lee along, trying to get it a bit faster. And it's just a fun little idea. And the tow cables are definitely necessary. I was worried when they were introduced that the physics would be a bit wonky, but so far, so good. And I haven't found any glitches with the physics. It does its job pretty well. It's as simple as that. The tow cables do work, thank God. And the artillery strike principles have been changed. My god, this is brilliant. The artillery strikes used to be kind of annoying in a way, and it also meant that you could cheat in Simulator because you could just go into the overhead view and see stuff over hills. But now, the way the artillery strikes work, basically, you press the button for the artillery strike, it brings up a sector of the map, and basically you will be in the center of this sector and you can drop artillery around. So basically, at the start of a game, you are not able to drop artillery on the enemy base because there is only a certain radius that you can drop it in. So maybe you can drop it in the center of the map or something. So for me, this is a great change. It has actually made artillery not just viable, but fun to use. I'm still unsure about the saving up of artillery and stuff like that, but I haven't been affected too much by it because the artillery is very much RNG when it comes to it. You are not guaranteed to hit anything. But this new system, well done. Well done, Gaijin. I really, really like it. Repair assistance from teammates has been added. This thing is brilliant. It is an absolute wonderful idea. Basically, the other day, I was playing with King Rex, who's a member of PO, and he was in his Lee, I believe, and I was in my M2A4. And we were in a realistic battle. He'd been hit hard and had to repair. He had, it was over a minute, I believe it was a minute 20 to repair, and he asked for assistance. So you basically park next to the person and it comes up with the button prompt and says, assist your teammate. So I sat next to him, assisted him, and it went from a minute 20 to 15 seconds. So it makes a massive difference in the grand scheme of things when it comes to actually repairing people. And also it means they get back to the battlefield. It gives you an incentive to help out your teammates in a team-based game. My god, well done. It is absolutely wonderful. I really, really like this change. And the ground vehicle behavior on different surfaces and with collisions has been improved. Basically, this is modifying the physics stuff because, well, probably everybody's seen those videos of the KV-1s flying, like basically rubber banding and stuff like that. It looks like they've been shot by a slingshot. I haven't seen any of that recently. The only issue I have with the collisions and stuff, everything seems to be fine, but every so often, with some of the new American tanks, if you drive through a tree, instead of it falling over and stuff, it will literally just sink into the ground. It's very odd. I think it's a minor glitch, which is definitely going to be sorted. But yeah, the physics is improving. Tank on tank is still a bit dodgy, but everything else is alright. In realistic and simulator tank battles, different combinations of War Thunder nations are available simultaneously in one battle. So that's good. They're basically, obviously, it's Russia, Germany, Russia, USA, USA, Germany, USA and Russia against Germany, and Germany and Russia against the USA. So this is basically designed for realistic and simulator, as it says, and the idea is to get you into battles faster. That seems to be the main idea. Right now, you can actually have USA against USA because they realize that when American tanks come out, everybody's going to want to play American tanks, but that's going to change as soon as everybody balances out the nation that they're using. But this is good. This basically means that it is still kind of realistic, apart from the USSR Germany versus USA one, but everything else is realistic. And it means that you're going to get into battles longer and short. It's going to take you a shorter time to get into battles. Sorry, I mixed up my words. And also, it means that when it comes to fights and stuff, you are going to have to understand more tanks, which is fine. You get much more of an understanding of the game, so if you learn more tanks, you should be alright. Like, basically what I mean by that is their guns, their armor, where to shoot them, all that stuff. So yeah, that should be great. So that's all the ground vehicle stuff. There is a lot there, and all of it is brilliant. I don't think I see a single issue I have with any of it. The only small issue I have is obviously with the sourcing stuff, but that's not to do with ground strikes, that's just a change that I believe Gaijin has to do overall. So we'll get on to aviation. There have been some new and overhauled aircraft. The USA get the F2H-2. This thing, the Banshee, I believe it is called, I'll just have a look now, is an impressive feat of engineering, the F2H-2 Banshee. This thing seems to be faster than the first Panther. Let's just have a look. Yep, it is. It is at a lower BR, has the same rate of climb, it has a slightly higher turn time, but it's at 6.7. 6.7. This thing is going to come up against Hortons, this thing is going to come up against D13s and HE162s, and the like. This thing is going to crush everything it comes up against, or at least it should. I mean, now the Americans, if we look at that line, right, if we look at the Navy line, the Corsairs, the early Corsairs and the Hellcat are very good. I enjoy them a lot. The F4U1D, it's basically still an early Corsair at 3.3. The F4U1C, it's a bit of a step down, but it has some really good guns. The Bearcat is phenomenally fun and very good. The F8F1B is once again an amazing aircraft. It's good at ground attack, it's good at killing jets, it's good at killing props, it's good at everything. The Tiger Cat is a monster, to be quite honest, and it's still at 5.3. This thing's at 5.3 still. It still doesn't face jets. This thing needs to be up to 5. I would say 6. I'd say 6 would be good. You have this against stuff like D13s. I think that's fine. It already comes up against them. It already does well against them. But it's so annoying because if, let's say you're flying Japan, let's say you can face in the K-84 Co, you can face a Tiger Cat and it will decimate you. On the opposite side, you can face a Ki-84 High with the 4 cannons at 6.3. That's a 1.0 BR spread. The Tiger Cat still does well against it. They need to up this plane. I refuse to fly it because what it faces is unfair. There is nothing a lot of planes can do against this thing because they can't catch it. They can't. The only thing they can do is turn with it, and if you're trying to turn in a Tiger Cat, you're doing something wrong. This thing is the energy fighter of the decade when it comes to this game, so hopefully it goes up to at least 6. I'd say 6 is a good number for it. But the F2H-2, I will have to wait and see how it is. It has the same BR as a shooting star, so it's going to come up against Sea Meteor's Meteor F3, the early Russian planes when it comes to jets, I believe. What's the MiG-9 nowadays? 7.0. Okay, so it'll come up against stuff like that. So it should actually be really, really good. It is obviously not that much of a turn fighter. It's much more of an energy fighter. It has a very fast speed, very, very fast. But it's still slower than the shooting star, weirdly enough. So maybe, that's interesting. According to stats and stuff like that, the F8C is just better. But we'll see. This thing has better guns and stuff, so head-to-heads will probably be more of an option. But the time will tell with the Banshee. I think it's going to be quite good. The Germans get an updated model for the Arado, because you know what everyone was asking for? An updated model of the Arado, because so many people use that plane in the first place. I mean, holy balls. It's such a good plane, and if you can't tell sarcasm from this, then I'm lucky, I suppose. What I would like is an Arado with guns. There were some made with guns. This Arado was basically designed as a long-range bomber. which could go very, very fast. So therefore the guns were stripped off it to increase speed. But there were ones with guns, so why not put an Arado with guns in the game, just to give it a chance? So let's just make a comparison here. At 6.7, we have the Arado 234B2. Its max speed is 745 kilometers an hour. That's not fast. It's got a terrible turn time and an alright rate of climb. So let's compare it to the American machines at this tier. Well, we're just talking about the Banshees here, and the F-80C, and even the F-84B if you want to add that in. They're all at 6.7. And you know what? They all have 200 kilometers an hour on the Arado. What the hell is the Arado supposed to do? It's supposed to be laughed at. It doesn't matter if you update the model or not, it's still going to die. Nobody's going to fly it. It's going to be a useless plane because you put it up against stuff like the Banshee, stuff like the Shooting Star, and the F-84B. If you put it a bit lower, let's say maybe 5.7, 5.3, it would sometimes encounter stuff like that. But a lot of the times, it would face stuff like the F-7F, which could still catch the damn thing. Just treat it as you seem to be treating the other bombers in the game, the Korean bombers, basically the B-57A and the Canberras. Just make them really, really fast so nobody can catch them, and just say, oh, it's okay because you can catch them on the airfield. Just do that. Why not? I mean, you're already doing it with the other jets, bombers, so just lower the BR of the Arado, which doesn't have any guns, and just do that. I don't see what the issue is. I don't think anybody's going to say no, that's not fair, because it's not as if its bomb load is catastrophic. I mean, the highest bomb load you can get is 1500 kilos, right? I believe. Yeah, 1500 kilos. That probably won't even kill a base at that tier. So, I don't know. The Arado's in a funny place right now, and I think it's going to get to the point where people are still not going to fly it, because there's absolutely no reason to. The USSR gets the I-16 Type 10, another little I-16. I love the I-16s as a series. I thought the Type 5 was pretty pointless because its guns are not very good. But the Type 10 has 4 of the useless guns, so that's all good. It has double the ammo and everything like that. It's basically the same plane, slightly better, but I love sitting in cockpit mode and just flying these things around, even against enemies and stuff. So I'll be unlocking that, max in and out and everything like that, because, well, I enjoy the I-16s. They're not amazing planes, but I tell you what, they're just fun to fly. And with the new gun sounds that came in 1.43, it sounds kind of ridiculous when you're firing the 7s and it's like boom, 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 boom. It sounds completely silly, but it is quite nice. Now the British. The British get an upgraded Canberra. The Canberra B Mark something or other. Let's have a look. The Canberra B Mark 6. Now, what is the difference between this and the Canberra B Mark II? Well, this thing has 4 Hispanos on it, so you can now run away from the enemy. Oh, it actually has a higher BR. Okay, that's fair enough. So, people can catch it. At 7.3, well, against I suppose the Germans aren't going to catch it, but hell, the German jets aren't going to catch anything. What's at 7.3 for them? Well, I suppose the first ME-262 could catch this. If it was really, really lucky. It's still, max speed is about 100 kilometers an hour slower than this. So, oh my god, the Canberra. Right, so, this thing, it's just a Canberra B Mark II, basically exactly the same plane, but it has 4 Hispanos on it. So instead of just running away to the side of the map, you can now kill things with it. And because of that air spawn, because of everything like that, I think this plane can be liked to stuff like the R2Y2, which in my opinion is dominating the proceedings. It's kind of as simple as that, really. The R2Y2 hasn't had its BR changed, actually, just looking at it. But anyway, I think this is going to be a great plane. It obviously doesn't turn too well and everything, but if you keep your speed up, there's not really much that can kill it. At 7.3, I suppose it is getting to the point where stuff can actually catch it. When we look at the Americans at 7.3, let's see. I suppose it's kind of at 7.3 is in an odd space, really, because it's kind of between the two sets of jets for America. Because at 6.7 you have stuff like the Shooting Star, the Banshee, the F-84, and then at 8.3 you have the first Panther and the first Sabre. So yeah, that's a bit odd. How about the Russians? That really is in the middle of them. So you're either going to struggle hard or you're going to do really well. That's going to be an odd one. Okay, so the MiG-9 is 7, the MiG-9 late is 7, MiG-15 is 8, so you probably won't see that much. LA-15 is 8, IL-28 is 6.7, so it's in a weird space. This Canberra is in a really weird space. It's either going to get into matches where it dominates, or it's going to be getting into matches where it struggles. Well, that's going to be very interesting to fly. I'm still not sure about that. I'm not in a good place on whether I'd say that's going to be really good or really bad. I'm going to have to watch some videos and play with it myself. So Japan gets 2 new planes, the J2M3 and the Ki-43-3. The J2M3 is one of those planes I've been looking forward to for a long time. It has 420mm of 5.0, has a pretty shoddy rate of climb and everything like that. It's basically the upgraded version of something like a Ki-61 High-Hien, which doesn't have a good rate of climb or a turn time, but the J2M3 is slightly better, and upgraded it's going to be even better, which is nice to see. With 420mm you'll be able to tear stuff apart, and it follows the typical Japanese playing style. I don't understand why the J2M3 is here in the tech tree. It's after the N1Ks, which seems to be a bit odd, because the M1Ks are at 6.3, the J2M3 is at 5. So yeah, that's a bit odd. It will be nice to actually use the J2M3 because I think it will be better than the A6M5. The A6M5s I really struggle with. I don't know what it is, but it's something to do with my playstyle or something. I just prefer the Ki-84s when it comes down to it. But hopefully this puts a new lease of life in these types of aircraft, so it'll be easier for me to research the J7W1, or that's at least the hope. The new Ki-43 Otsu Hayabusa, of course I'm looking forward to it. Hayabusas are probably one of my favourite planes in the game, and the thing is this one can carry bombs as well, up to 2 250s. It has 2 20s with 300 ammunition, so it sticks with all the other Ki-43s. Not a ton of ammo, but at least it kills stuff. It's got a good max speed, good rate of climb, good turn time. This thing is going to be great if its BR wasn't 4.3. where it's going to come up against stuff which I think should outclass it, but the thing is the Ki-43 always can win because of that turn time, because of the ridiculous maneuvers it can come up, and now with 220mm you should be able to knock out people in hardly any shots. So yeah, the Ki-43, I'm looking forward to using that just as I do all of the other Ki-43s, so we'll see how that goes. Some game mechanics have been changed for Aviation. Enemy contacts that have been spotted by allies are now visible to players at a distance of up to 8 kilometers. So before it used to be 6 kilometers, they've added 30% to that. 8 kilometers I think is a good fit. 6 kilometers was very short. When you talk about how big these maps are, I mean, you're looking at 120 kilometer spread, so 6 kilometers really isn't anything. And sometimes at the end of the battle, when there's 3 of you or 4 of you, it is quite hard to spot out people, so it's nice to have it a bit higher. We'll see how it goes. I still think it should be a bit higher, maybe 10 or 12, but the thing I found with this new mechanic, with the spotting thing, is that teams communicated more. They said, attack this guy, he's over near me, come help me, cover me. So it was nice to see all that stuff, and hopefully that keeps going, because basically you can't always use your eyes, you have to listen to your teammates and things, and in a team-based game that's really nice. Telescopic sights on aircraft that have been fitted now have a view similar to the sniper view that ground vehicles currently have. This doesn't affect many planes, but I tell you what, it is quite nice. It's something that has been missing. It's been very hard to use. There's stuff like magnifying glasses and the telescopes in planes, especially some of the early ones, so it's nice that this is a feature. Basically, you know how in a lot of planes you right click if you're using a mouse and you zoom forward so you can get closer to the dial and you can see everything. Well, now if you have a telescope or a magnifying glass, you look through that, and it looks very nice. It looks really, really nice. So that's a little addition, but definitely worth it. Kill credit for realistic and simulator battles have been changed. Now if you shoot off the wing or tail of an enemy who is not close to his airfield, the opponent will be counted as immediately destroyed. Thank you, Jesus. Thank the Lord. Oh, this is just going to change a lot of shit and stop people arguing with each other about kill stealing, which in my opinion was never a factor in the game. But for some reason, people always argued about it. I'm sure they'll find something else to argue about, just as they always do in this game. But the thing is, thank God Gaijin addressed this, so they can just shut the hell up about it. So damage model. Damage model on all aircraft has been overhauled. Shapes for inner and outer modules has been specified. Mechanics for wings and tail loss on random spots has been added. So basically, with all of the damage models of the planes, they've made them a bit more defined, they've made them a bit more precise, which is nice. It would be nice to see a bit of the changes or whatever, but it seems like at certain points of the wings on a lot of planes, they have become more fragile, which is okay, or at least taking off in random spots. When you are dying, it may be a bit different than the last time you died. But yeah, it's little changes like that are quite nice. I would love to have a full damage model for every plane. Basically, let's say you get shot somewhere, then that's where the bullet hole is, instead of it looking like, you know, if you shoot somebody with a 37 and it looks like somebody sprayed 7.7s on your wing, it looks a bit weird. But to be quite honest, overall, it's nice. It's nice to see the damage models improving. It's something that people have been calling for a long time. So thank you, Gaijin, for addressing it. Ammunition. Fixed error in new machine gun and new cannon modifications, which led to wrong parameters for overheating and spread being applied. Now an overheat will occur a bit later than it was before, and spread will be smaller. That's great. That's really good. Basically, there was a few modifications in the game which didn't do anything. They didn't work. They were bugged. So now they work. Well done, Gaijin. Another fix, which is always nice. I'm not going to go through any of the flight model crap because, well, basically all of it is... I'll give you an example. IL-2M has been tuned according to datasheet. Okay then, show me the datasheet. That's basically all of them. There are some little things to be seen, basically. Fix a bug with the aircraft with unretractable landing gear. The instructor mistakenly believed that the player has released them by themselves and began to use flaps for landing, which resulted in wrong behavior of the aircraft in the air. Yeah, that's a nice change, but overall, if you want to have a look, read them for yourselves, find the datasheets and all that. But for me, they're kind of, you know, I've been through them all, and this would literally take me 2 hours to go through all of them and talk about them to see if they're right or not. And we're already up to about 50 minutes. Camouflages and decals. US tank decals have been added. Whoop whoop, shoot the hoop. New Axis Air Force decals have been added. New squadron decals. New Allied Air Force decals. I love decals. I think they give personalization to a plane and everything like that. Same as the camouflages. There have been a ton of camouflages added. Once again, if you want to see the list, go for it. And camouflages that were temporarily made unavailable for selection by players have now been returned. Achievements have been added to unlock them. For people who own these vehicles and who log into the game in the first week after 1.45 has been released, will have these camouflages added for free. Hell yes. Hell to the yes. This is a lovely change. It means that I can get my camo on again. I love the idea of camouflages. Working towards something, these little things in the game like kills or wins or everything like that with vehicles. It's just nice to have an incentive to play certain aircraft, and that's nice. So, missions and locations. Ground Forces and Aviation locations, White Rock Fortress and Eastern Europe have been added. I will do a separate video for each of these, talking about what I think and how to use the map to your advantage. And then the Aviation location, Operation Battle for Moscow, is here. I haven't been on it yet. I haven't got into a game with it. But I'll probably do a review for it, depending on how I see it or how I feel about it, going from both sides of this perspective. We have some new dynamic campaigns at Guam, Saipan, Iwo Jima, Moscow, Khalkhin Gol, and Honolulu. These are all nice. I love dynamic campaigns because it basically means that if I get frustrated with the multiplayer and stuff, I can just relax in some single player. Same as in these new missions. An event has been added. Tracked Factory event beside the Cursed Salient has been added. So yeah, that's nice. Some new events is always good, as long as they're historically accurate. Added single player and co-op missions on the Moscow map. Lovely stuff. Missions in custom battles on Kuban, Karelia, Carpathians. Jungle maps have been merged into one and can be set in the custom battle options. Oh, glorious! That's what we like to see. These are all minor changes, but I love them. I absolutely love them. There are little things which make the game just better, and that is what has really, really made me happy with this update. Domination and Conquest as arcade mode on Poland map. Whatever that means. One of the capture points has been removed. Okay, so probably the one which was completely broken, and which was the one in the south. It basically means whatever team spawned on the right of the map, they won. it was as kind of simple as that. But all the others were alright. The new breakthrough mode is here, the one which was tried and tested by the community. I really loved it. Basically, it reminded me of Gold Rush from Battlefield Bad Company, that idea. So yeah, I'm really happy with that. The whole back and forth thing is really good in maps, because basically it means that you can move your front lines. It's like having trenches in World War I, where you push forward, then you move back, then you go to your second trench because they've thrown gas into your first trench, but now the gas is gone, so you move up and man the machine guns and push them back when they're advancing. It's absolutely wonderful. I really like the breakthrough mode, and I hope that it becomes an integral part of the game, to be quite honest. Balance fixes introduced on Carpathians map. I will have a look at that to see what the fixes are. Obviously, once again, very vague. It could be completely anything. And then we get onto the graphics, the most vague of all. Transition between levels of detail has been improved. Okay, whatever that means. Render in aircraft and tank modes has been optimized. Once again, what has been optimized? Gaijin, you're getting better, but you got to do better at these things. But yeah, the only issue I've been having with graphics and stuff, and what I see other people have been, I'm running the game on max just to test everything out. I get the same FPS as usual, apart from on the new maps, which need to be a bit optimized. But the render distance seems to be really odd in tanks. So like I'll see an enemy, so I'll zoom in my tank, and then a building will just pop up in my scope. It's really odd, and I don't know if it's a bug or not, or an intentional choice just to basically save a bit of processing power and stuff like that. But we shall see if it gets changed or not. And last but not least, the interface of the game has been changed. The new hangar into battle button interface implemented. This is obviously better for new players and stuff. It just looks nicer, and that's all you need. The new hangar is wonderful, and it has a bloody Christmas tree in it right now because it's Christmas, and who doesn't love Christmas trees? It looks festive, it looks nice. Well done, Gaijin, you've done a really good job. One thing you are absolutely brilliant at is modelling stuff. I mean, the beauty of this game is sublime. It is basically as simple as that. Some of the graphical settings that previously needed client restarts to be applied will be applied automatically. That is lovely. Not a big thing, but once again the small changes are nice. Show the status of the tank modules button assignment now renamed to show the status of vehicle modules. Show the status of the tank modules button assignment now moved from tank controls to miscellaneous. Something, once again, not a big change, but it's a change. See, how can you be so precise with stuff like this and not be precise at all with stuff like tuning aircraft and things which are integral to the game? Button show the status of the tank modules now assigned to O letter by default. For players who use their own control setup, the key binding will not change, but it will for players who use default settings. I use my own setup, so it doesn't matter, but that is something you have to think about if you are using the defaults. On the PS4, the look back and look down cameras now work properly when assigned in controls. Booyah! PS4 in chat interface, copy selected player's name to input line added to context menu. So the PS4 version is getting better, even though it was pretty good to begin with. This is all nice. The interface stuff is very small, and a lot of players would deem it not really needed and stuff like that, but for me, the game looks cleaner, it looks nicer, it just looks more professional, which is something that this game has been striving for. So well done for the interface stuff. But overall, update 1.45, including the patches which have come out over the last few days. The last one was 1.45.7.56, which basically just fixed a lot of balancing and stuff like that. But anyway, update 1.45 has been great, in my opinion. I haven't found anything yet that I can really complain about. I think all of the additions and everything like that has been nice. I do still need to go through all the flight models and stuff to see where they're at and everything. The engines on stuff seems a bit dodgy, but I will have to do more research into it, and if I do find anything wrong, especially with the engines on aircraft, I will make a separate video talking about that, because I am worried that that is going to happen. But as a conclusion, all I can say is well done to Gaijin. Once again, we're going forward. And last time I said it was about 3 steps forward, 1 step back. I'd say it's just about 4 steps forward at this point. You're getting more players, your game is looking amazing, the PR team's doing a brilliant job, you've got new videos coming out, all of this new lovely stuff. And it's all free in a way, which is weird to think, since it's a free-to-play game. But I'm so happy right now for this game. It's moving forward. It was looking dodgy a year ago, but it's looking grand now. So cheers, and I'll catch you next time.